Another year wasted on your little internet thing? Dad's voice carried across the Thanksgiving table as he carved the turkey. Meanwhile, the family business hit record profits. I picked at my food, letting their mockery wash over me as usual. If they only knew that my little internet thing was now a billion-dollar tech conglomerate. That their precious Mitchell Manufacturing's record profits were a facade hiding mounting debt. Sarah got another donation for her website, my brother Mark announced, scrolling through his phone. What was it, sis? $5 from someone buying used books online. Mom shook her head disapprovingly. Honestly, Sarah, at your age you should be working at the family company like your brother. He's our CFO now. Yes, the same CFO who'd been cooking the books for months, desperately hiding their financial collapse from shareholders. My analytics team had flagged their irregularities weeks ago. Actually, I said quietly, the business is doing well. Playing shop on the internet isn't a business, Dad scoffed. Real business is done in boardrooms with real products. Like Mitchell Manufacturing, 3 generations of success. My phone buzzed silently, a message from my acquisition team. Mitchell Manufacturing's credit rating just dropped. They'll need a bailout within 30 days. Still want to proceed anonymously? Absolutely, I typed back. Set up the meeting for next week. Let them think it's a regular investor. Sarah, Mom's voice pulled me back. Mark says there's an entry-level position open in accounting. A real job with a real future. Mark smirked. Though you'd have to wear actual business clothes, not those discount store outfits. I glanced down at my discount Armani suit, deliberately chosen to look understated. The watch they thought was a cheap knockoff. Limited edition Patek Philippe. I'll think about it, I replied, knowing that by next week I might own their entire company. What's to think about? Dad demanded. Your brother started in the mailroom, worked his way up. Now he handles all our finances. That's real success. If they only knew how Mark handled their finances, the hidden accounts, the manipulated numbers, the desperate attempts to hide their impending bankruptcy. Speaking of finances, Mark said smugly, we just had another record quarter. The Mitchell family legacy continues. I checked my phone again, another alert. Mitchell Manufacturing missed payroll. Emergency board meeting called for tomorrow. Must be nice, I murmured. All that success. It is, Dad beamed at Mark. Your brother understands real business. Not this internet nonsense. Mom touched my arm. Honey, it's time to grow up. Join the family business before it's too late. Too late? They had no idea. In exactly 1 week, they'd be sitting across from a potential buyer, not knowing it was their failed daughter holding their company's fate in her hands. Maybe you're right, I said, standing up. Maybe it's time for a change. Finally. Mom exclaimed. I'll tell HR to expect you Monday. Oh, I'll be there Monday, I smiled. Just not quite the way you expect. As I drove home to my penthouse, the one they thought was a studio apartment, I checked the latest reports. Mitchell Manufacturing's stock had dropped another 15% after hours. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them dig their own grave while you wait with the deed to the cemetery. The next week passed in a blur of frantic calls and messages from the Mitchell family, none of them to me, of course. Their internet failure daughter wasn't worth consulting in a crisis. I watched through my office windows as their company's stock continued to plummet. Mark had stopped bragging about being CFO. Dad's usual confident strut had become a worried shuffle. Mom's social media had gone suspiciously quiet, no more posts about her successful family business. Ms. Chin, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your family just arrived for the investor meeting. Your father is demanding to speak to the CEO. I pulled up the security feed. Dad was at the reception desk, trying to use his big business voice to intimidate my staff. Mark was frantically reviewing documents, his designer tie askew. Mom was attempting to network with other people in the lobby, though no one seemed interested in a failing company's matriarch. Put them in the main boardroom, I instructed. Tell them the potential buyer will join shortly. And their request to speak with our CEO? I smiled. Oh, they will. Just not quite the way they expect. Through the cameras I watched them being led into the boardroom. The same room where I'd closed billion-dollar deals while they thought I was playing shop online. This is a waste of time, I heard Mark complain. We need someone with serious capital, not some tech company. Dad straightened his tie. Just stick to the story. Record profits, strong growth, temporary cash flow issues. The lies you've been telling shareholders? I said, finally entering the room. The color drained from their faces. Mark's portfolio slipped from his hands, scattering papers across the floor. Sarah. Mom whispered. What are you doing here? My job. I sat at the head of the table, spreading out the real Mitchell Manufacturing financial reports. Or should I say, reviewing my potential investment. Investment. Dad's voice cracked. You're not. This isn't. Chin Technologies. I gestured to the logo behind me. Your potential buyer. Though after reviewing your actual numbers, I have serious concerns. Mark started to speak, but I held up my hand. Before you continue the lies, little brother, let me show you what real business looks like. I pressed a button and screens descended from the ceiling, displaying their company's true financial state. Hidden accounts in the Caymans. Falsified profit reports. 3 years of manipulated numbers. I turned to Dad. Still think internet businesses aren't real? This is impossible, Mom stammered. You play with websites. I built the largest tech conglomerate in the country, I corrected her. While you were mocking my internet thing, I was tracking every mistake, every lie, every fraudulent report your precious family business produced. Mark slumped in his chair. How did you know? My analytics software flags financial irregularities across all major corporations. That donation you mocked at Thanksgiving? It was a billion-dollar acquisition of your biggest competitor. Dad leaned forward. Princess, let's talk about this. Family should help family. Family. I laughed. Like when you helped me. When you respected my business. When you offered me anything except mockery and entry-level positions. I pulled out a thick contract. Here's my offer. Chin Technologies will acquire Mitchell Manufacturing at 20 cents on the dollar. You're in no position to negotiate. 20 cents. Mark exploded. That's insulting. More insulting than cooking the books? Than lying to shareholders. I pushed forward copies of their fraudulent reports. Should I show these to the SEC instead? The silence in the boardroom was deafening. Outside my floor-to-ceiling windows, the city continued its busy pace, unaware of the family drama unfolding 50 stories up. You have 30 minutes to decide, I said, checking my watch, the one they'd mocked as a knockoff. Before the market closes and your stock becomes worthless. This isn't fair, Mom whispered, her perfectly maintained facade cracking. We're your family. Fair. I pulled out my tablet, displaying years of their text messages, social media posts, and dinner table comments. Like when you told everyone I was a failure. When you mocked my business at every family gathering. Mark was frantically reviewing the contract. These terms, you'd control everything. Yes. The company, the assets, the board seats. Everything except the fraud charges. Those are still your responsibility. Dad stood up, desperation in his eyes. Sarah, please. This company is our legacy. 3 generations. Of what? I cut him off. Of looking down on anyone who didn't fit your definition of success? Of hiding financial crimes? Some legacy. My phone buzzed, another stock alert. Mitchell Manufacturing had dropped another 10% in the last hour. 25 minutes left, I noted. Tick-tock. Mom tried a different approach. Darling, think of the family name. I did. That's why I built my empire under my mother's maiden name. Chin Technologies sounds better than Mitchell Manufacturing anyway. But the employees. Dad started. Will keep their jobs. Unlike you 3. I smiled coldly. Though I hear there's an opening in the mailroom. You always said that's where real success starts, right? Mark finally broke. We have to sign. We don't have a choice. There's always a choice, brother. Just like I had a choice when you all told me to quit my internet nonsense. I pushed the contract closer. Sign, or I'll let the company collapse and buy the remains for pennies. One by one they signed. Their hands shaking, their signatures wobbly, so different from their usual confident flourishes. Congratulations, I said, standing up. You're now employees of Chin Technologies. If we decide to keep you. If. Mom's voice quivered. Obviously we'll need to audit everything. Every decision, every report, every penny. I gathered my documents. I suggest you all update your resumes. Real ones this time, not the fiction you've been telling everyone. As they sat there broken and humbled, I walked to the door. Then turned back for one final twist. Oh, and Dad, remember when you said real business isn't done online? I pressed a button on my phone, and every screen in the room lit up with Mitchell Manufacturing's new corporate structure, with my name at the top. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's done in boardrooms too. The difference is I mastered both while you were too busy mocking me to notice. The door closed behind me on their stunned silence. My assistant was waiting. Should I announce the acquisition? She asked. Yes. And Sarah? I paused. Schedule a family dinner for Sunday. Same table, same seating arrangement. The one where they made you sit at the end? Exactly. I smiled. But this time I'll be at the head of the table. After all, I own it now. Sometimes success isn't about proving your worth to others. It's about watching them realize their own worth was nothing but smoke and mirrors. And sometimes the best revenge isn't buying out your family's company. It's making them watch as you run it better than they ever could.